You're listening to the Business of Pharmacy podcast with me, your host, Mike Kelzer. Bled, for those who haven't come across you online, introduce yourself and tell the listeners what we're talking about today.
My name is Bled Tanoe. I am a pharmacist in Oklahoma City, and I wrote a post that went viral one day about the working conditions in retail, especially in major chain pharmacy. And so with the hashtag big size not working, that really talks about how employers tend to address those working conditions by giving pharmacists and technicians gift card of food instead of actually, taking care of the issue at hand. So that's why we're here to just talk about that.
We're going to talk about all the ways that the employers screw over the employees and thus the public. But what we need to get into right now is the hashtag pizza is not working.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Were you just like sitting there and saying, I'm going to post something and I thought of it? Where did this come from? I know why it's there. I don't want to get into like all the justice of pharmacy stuff. I want to actually find out, how did you actually come up with that hashtag?
Basically, I would say it just happened from a discussion I had with a technician one time when I was at work, and just that technician in particular just coming and just really bearing, I guess, his feeling, his worries to me about what he was feeling, the pressure with COVID vaccine and testing and metrics, And of course, as a good old manager, the first thing that came into my head was, man, I just want to encourage this store. I want to make them feel love and values. And this time I come, I bring pizza. That was the first thing that came into my mind. And then I just stopped, and I'm not gonna say I'm guilty today. I just stopped and I was just like, this is not going to work.
Now, wait a minute here. I had this all wrong because you were not the recipient of the pizza. You were the potential buyer of the pizza. And then you realized, so this is like a slam on what you were doing.
I was, yes. Yeah, I was. So the pizza is not working. It's not to talk about those of us like pharmacy manager or pharmacists or even technician who provide food to each other, because this is what we can do. I think it's very directed to the people who have the potential to change the working condition by choosing not to do so, and then give us a $500 budget for something, right? And so, but it came with a self-reflection of myself in that moment, if that makes sense.
It wasn't taking away the benefit of just reaching out to your brother or sister with kind gestures. It was more like,
you can do better.
We can do more than
exactly.
this. We can do better,
right?
We can do better.
And so after coming out to that realization, I went to one of my Facebook group that I'm part of, and we're just talking about it. And, of course, like the title was Pizza is not working. And then while we're talking, and I can read the comment, and people were just talking about the same issue, and one of the comment was, thank you for not giving him food, because some of us have struggled so much to lose weight, and then every time we do something great with food, is like really thrown at us. And then somebody said, hashtag pizza will be a great hashtag. So we're just talking about it, right? And so then I went and I said, okay, I want to tell the public what is happening in retail. I want to tell them about the burden. I want to tell them about the difficult time that we're having, just to invite them to be patient and to be kind, right? And to maybe raise awareness on their own. This is really what it was. It was more like a play. If you go back and you read the original post, which came about August 7th, because I always remember that date, it was very about a play, right? And then really and then I just threw the hashtag among many hashtags on the original post. But for some reason, this is the only one that actually stuck out to people. And then every time the post started to be shared, people kept using the hashtag, hashtag pizza is not working. And I was like, oh, okay, so this really resonate with people, right? And then, of course, when you look at every single sector of any working environment, we have done it. We have done it with medicine, with nursing, with all those other places where the goal for employers, when they have the the power to change something is to hand food, I'm not saying that you cannot appreciate us, because I love pizza. Let me tell you, I can eat, and that's the funny thing about this is that I literally love pizza. I can eat, I do, and so I would never turn down a good pizza. I would say, please, never.
Obviously, it's very symbolic of not going beyond.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but if you want to give me a pizza, you would give it. I would take it. But on top of that,
sure,
do something else, right? And so here we are.
Still focused just on the marketability of that hashtag, which I think is fascinating, and not the broader issue of pharmacy problems. Mm-hmm. Do you think that hashtag would have resonated as much with other professions? Let's say, a busy shoe store employee, or a busy, let's take it to medical, a busy nursing station at a hospital. Do you think that the pizza motif would have resonated, or do you think that pharmacists are especially downtrodden, and it seems to be an easy answer for pharmacy managers to throw pizza? Is this a pharmacy issue, or is this symbolic across the whole gamut of employer-employee relationships?
I think it's everybody. I think every single sector of work has something that is similar, right? And once again, to correct, I was a pharmacy manager, so me and my crew, we love one big side place in Oklahoma City. So once again, it's not for the people who don't have the power to change. It's for the people who actually can change. So as a pharmacy manager, I could go and bring the concern to my supervisor. I could create a good culture for my technician, but eventually the major change was not coming from me.
This is nothing about pizza. It's about the symbolism of somebody who can help, not helping.
Yeah, anybody that is in the position of authority, right, that can help, that is not helping, that is also for you. And I think in any way, it's for all of us.
Yeah.
Whether you take it professionally or personally, whether you take it with your friendship, it can really be taken across board, right? But when we talk about profession, nursing actually have a hashtag called the last pizza, where they also specify that, okay, would you please stop buying pizza? Would you actually provide more nurses and more incentive and all of that?
The last pizza.
The last pizza. That's the hashtag. This is not really a new thing, right? I think even if you go, you Google hashtag pizza is not working, it will bring out other things, obviously, right? But I think the reason why right now it's very so hard in pharmacies because of the culture where we are right now, because for the last 3 or 4 years or so many years, we have been asking employers to do something, right? And nothing's been changed. So I think that's why this has become more popular within the pharmacy profession. But you can take that and it can apply to anywhere, And that's been one of my biggest critique when it comes to other sector of pharmacy not joining. Because I tell them this is also one day will be you, right? If you have not felt it, it's coming to you eventually.
Yeah, it's coming.
And my joke is, I wonder that time which hashtag we use for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right? And it's not to be insistent. It's really about to show that this is a time to be very solid to one another, right?
Yeah.
Because the biggest sector and ultimately the most impactful sector of pharmacy is struggling.
Yeah.
And we all need to step in, right, in that moment and do something. Yeah.
Sticking with the thought still of the marketing of this and not yet getting into the issue. It's so cool what marketers can do these days. And marketers being maybe a broader term for making a movement known, whether it's trying to sell something or market your cause or whatever. But it's so cool now with social media, because years ago, to come up with something like that, pizza is not working, you'd hire a marketing firm and you'd have all these high-level executives, you'd pay thousands and thousands of dollars, and then you would do all this testing months and months and thousands of dollars later. And now you just throw out like 3 or 4 hashtags and you sit back about 30 minutes and one of them takes off and you're like, oh, okay, we'll go with that. So it's just amazing to get market research now.
Yeah. The reason why this works so much is because whenever the post went viral the first time, I'm one of those people, I like to read the comment. So I went and read every single comment that was on that post from every single site. So when I went to the clinical pharmacist and read a comment, I went to this person and read a comment. And what I found out was the commonality that we all had. And I think that's why that's why we didn't need a tester, because we already had people who understood the story. We had people who were living that every day. So we didn't need to have someone to test it for us. So those people, right. And that's why I tell people, say, how did you make this so famous? I say, I did not make it famous. The thing is like, this is people's story. This is real life. There's nothing more fascinating in life for me than true stories. When I buy books, I love to buy true story and autobiography because I can relate to the reality of what people are saying. So when we talk about marketing, I think pharmacists and technicians, whoever fell in line with the message, marketed themselves, because this was their life. All I did was literally take the word, which lots of typos in it, put it together and share it. That's really all I did. And they did the work, They made it popular because this was a story. And I think that's what makes it beautiful, but it also makes it very sad at the same time because it's not supposed to be our story.
Last week's show, we had some guests on talking about certain things in the industry, and one of them being monopolies of the Amazon and PBMs and things like that. And I asked them at the end, I said, what advice would you give to the listeners if they had just a few minutes to do something? And one of them said that it would be valuable just to read about this, to give them a vocabulary of monopolies that they've maybe never heard of. Maybe their parents and grandparents heard of it years ago, but they don't even know the words to listen and describe the problem. And that's where words are so valuable. What you've done is that there's this feeling emanating from pharmacists, and once in a while something comes along, well, in life, but now it's pharmacy's turn to share that commonality that everybody's feeling. But when you can't put a word on something, it's like when God created, it was the word caused creation, from chaos into order and so on. So you take that chaos of all these issues and you focus it into something. Pizza is not working. Years and years of frustration can be focused into something as simple as a little hashtag.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. It's so true, and that is to show you that this has been a repeated offense, because for us to see this hashtag and say, yep, I understand, it means that we have to have suffer this again and again and again, and it just become us,
Back in the marketing, so there's something to it that it resonates with people because it's kind of not a play on words, but it's kind of a wink to people like, hey, do you get this joke? If I told my kids, my high school kids who have never experienced the pressures of a job, especially maybe retail, and especially maybe a place where there's oppression going on from the upper ranks down to the workers, they'd be like, what does that mean? Pizza's not working. But the fact that it's kind of a secret, but kind of not a play on words, but a play on emotions. And you haven't really come out and said like, leaders suck. You haven't come out and said something like that, but it's that little bit of mystery there. And that little bit of like, I know what you're saying, that just like builds it. It's really something. Congratulations on that.
Once again, it's everybody.
That's what makes it sad.
Which again makes it hard to even think about it.
I'm here congratulating you from a marketing standpoint,
Yes.
from a business standpoint, but I'm certainly not, and we're going to talk about that. We're not losing the knowledge that this is on the backs of sucky conditions.
The knowledge, yeah, exactly.
Tell me about those sucky conditions that you saw as a manager, and would it be fair to say you felt guilty even though you're in a double bind because you don't own the company and you're not able to just say, all right, everybody take off 26 weeks a year and you're going to be remote from Hawaii, and we're paying for it. I know you don't have those options, but I imagine that you felt you were in a double bind, but you also felt some guilt of not being able to help out those you were managing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I don't know if most people know that I have officially stepped away from retail as to August. So August was my last day, but I keep very in close communication with my friend who's still in retail and all that. But it was, I think the biggest time where I would say the angle shift is when my store was getting COVID vaccine and testing. I mean, we had a good crew, but a few of them were still pretty new, and it was still kind of like a skeleton crew, but we were hanging. So when we got word of that, I approached my supervisor at that time and just really put my concern that, hey, this is going to be a new process, new billing, new information, new everything, right? And my crew is already handling quite a lot, right? So I need to know what can take a step back. And I think what I was asking was, can we back off metrics a little bit until the crew feels comfortable with handling the process, until they know the training is great, right? Since we don't have too many people, right? And so we need to kind of like back off a little bit. Can we do that? Not forever, but just for the time being. And the answer was no. The answer was, this is business as usual. You're still expected to meet all the metrics and all of that, and regardless. And so at that point, I just started to really think and question that something the system, especially what I was asking was for patient safety. I don't think that my crew can handle doing so many vaccines at a time, coming back and filling prescription and coming back and doing testing. There's too many pieces going on here.
Explain what you mean by you asked them to lay off or tone down the metrics. I have a vague idea of that because I'm coming from an independent world.
Yeah, absolutely.
When they say the metrics, are you saying don't judge us on those? What were you asking for when you said lay off the metrics?
What I was asking was to not be punished for not meeting the numbers.
Punished through your paycheck?
Not through the paycheck, but through the pressure of having to do it, right? Through the pressure of having meetings every day. Why you not meeting this metrics? Or through the pressure to be blasted out as a last store in the district or whatever, or anything that can be seen.
You don't hit your metrics. They say, no, we're not laying off of those. But we're not going to penalize you financially for not hitting the metrics. So is it social embarrassment? What does that mean? You can only work so hard. And if they're not going to financially penalize you, what does that mean to the person? And what does that do to your soul when you didn't hit the metrics?
Well, I think it's also to remember, there's also type of discipline. You can be written up, you can have a discipline, right? So
your job might be on the line.
Yes, yeah. So so your job might be on the line, right? And then you're talking about going to technician who feels like they're overwhelmed and ask them, why have you not made those phone calls? Why have you not signed up for this text message, right? So it's not just you as a pharmacy manager. You have to go back and translate the message to them and say, okay, this week we only made 9 sign up for text message, and they're looking at, we need 20. And for them, it's like, wait, I am giving so many COVID vaccine. I am running between the drive-through and between filling prescription, and I'm answering the phone, and you complain to me about not signing up for 10 message. So you are breaking the morale of it. That's really what it was. I was trying to keep my team more as we were transitioning until they were more comfortable. They knew the process. They knew what works, that didn't work. And then we'll back and go. And it's not like we were not going to try, but if we did not meet those metrics in particular, I need to know that my team was not going to beat you up for that.
A lot of the job is
how you feel mentally.
How you feel about mentally.
Yes.
And so while maybe they're not going to
punish your paycheck,
stone you or punish the paycheck, or maybe even get fired the next day, leading up to that, though, is you've tried your best, but you sucked at it because you haven't hit these metrics, which we're not laying off on.
Exactly. That's really what it was. And so in that sense, me as a manager, so then when we were starting with the vaccine and the testing, on the weekend, we needed 2 people to work on the weekend because it wasn't possible to have vaccine and testing with just one pharmacist and one technician. Well, that meant that my full-time tech had to work 6-7 days straight, which I refused. So I took into myself to only work with one technician and that's it. Because I could not put my full-time technician to work in so many hours when they were already killing themselves during the week. So looking at that and seeing that even my decision to do this was not well received, really started to make me question what value we were all following. Were we valuing the people? Which means if the people are well, the patient are safe, or we're just running the people to the ground and therefore we're causing patient harm, right? Because it's a domino effect, right? So even though it was not a paycheck, even though it was not, for me it was already a job issue, but even it was not all those major things, there were when you talk about how your team feel about themselves, how they feel appreciated, how they feel valued, how they feel that you are willing to lay off the business side just so that they can feel supported. If you're not giving that to them, that I started to really question that something was wrong. And of course, no, we were all feeling the pressure, right? It was just not me, but all that was really the turning point for me at that time.
One of the hardest times I ever managed was, I remember it very specifically, as we closed down, some night after work, we had to do inventory, and it was a special inventory. We had to get it done right away. I forget why. Some accounting thing. It's like 10 years ago. And I had a staff of like 6 or 7, and they were helping me. And after like an hour, they took a break. And then after another hour, we had another break. And I realized after like the second break, it was hard to get these guys and gals back to work because they didn't have customers staring in the face. I had to somehow either be forceful, and I could only be so much motivation. All right, that's one type of work. But then the other type of work is perpetual pressure. That's a pretty cool way to manage if you're just making widgets or you're just making, tennis shoes or something like that, because you got quality control. And if they're not keeping up, it's like, I don't care really how pissed off a worker is who made my tennis shoes. If they came out okay, they came out okay. Where I think maybe these metrics are short-sighted is you've got now an angry employee who's not taking out their anger on tennis shoes. They're taking it out on customers, and maybe even
on customer.
Something that's not being measured. Like, I don't know, maybe you can't measure how many teeth show up in a smile, things like that.
Exactly.
And then finally on that is mistakes.
Yes. Yeah. About a year ago, I hired a wonderful technician and trained him myself, and it was great. I feel like one of my most proudest moments as a pharmacy manager. And when he was leaving, and I asked him, was it me or anything? And he said, I am not a nice person anymore. He said, pharmacy changed me. I am not a nice person anymore. I am angry. I don't smile. And he said, if I get to this point, I have no business being here handling people's prescription. And he left. I thought that was brave. I thought that was actually the best thing for him to do, because you are correct. We are not out there making clothes that can be redone, right? Or making food that can be redone, right? And that's why I'm trying to get those big companies to understand that pharmacist, technician, and intern are your first piece of the domino effect. You push them, therefore everything falls with them.
Yeah.
And it seems like they don't get it. They think they're all the first piece. Everything stems from them. They're all the God, and we have to cater to them. Feel that way, that's fine. But if you have a pharmacy staff that is so broken I cannot function, you have patients that are in danger.
Mm-hmm.
Patient in danger mean who knows, it could be time in a hospital or it could be death, right?
Yeah.
And then what you have loss of name of your business, because you have your business part of this bypass, right? You have patients leaving because every time they go to the pharmacy, the script is wrong, right? Or it's late, or they can't get it. So they're transferring to go somewhere else. They're choosing an insurance on purpose that does not go to your pharmacy, right? And then when you start to add the patient loss of life, or any potential mistake that harm them, then you have lawsuit, and that comes with money, right? All of those hurt your business. So you have to plant the first piece very carefully. You have to plant it to the ground so it cannot be moved. Not to force them, but you have to plant them. And we're not planting the first pieces of this domino.
Bled, I ain't no genius, but here's a couple things I see in these big businesses. You've got distance. I know that in the years that I wasn't around the pharmacy as much, I didn't care as much about customers' feelings because I had like a level or two between me and the customer. Now that I'm there around more, I might not be directly. I might be able to send out one of my employees to take a little heat from someone that's ready to lay into somebody, but I'm within 10 feet, listening. So I think you've got distance with the big wigs up the ladder. And also, I think you've got maybe a lack of some longevity. I don't know. I'm just guessing this, but I'm guessing you've got some district managers and some managers up the way that they're there for 2 or 3 years and metrics mean more than, Mrs. Smith being happy and 10 years later, her child who is 15 becomes 25 and can make decisions on their own and remember back when you treated the family well and things like that. But I think in these big corporations, by that time, the managers are
already gone.
Long gone.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we have seen, and so that when I raise statement from those big corporations, very rarely they use the word patient. It's always customer. We're here for our customer. And I think we have, this is probably the first mistake we've done when it comes to pharmacy, is to not see those individuals as patient. Because when you see them as customer, as people who are here to exchange any goods, you would do anything to keep them, anything to get that money, even though what you're doing might not be good for them. Yeah. So I say I've told one time a district manager that was, I told them that there's a difference between patient care and customer service. Customer satisfaction, which let them know that I was going to be one of the troublemaker, and I didn't turn out to be proved to be right. And I told them, I say, my priority will always be patient safety, always, and that might not fall into into customer satisfaction, but I will always go for patient safety. So I want you to know that. And at this point where we are right now, this is what we're all fighting for. Why the big chains would come and say, we tell people that on the level of business, they can explain why they do the things they do, and it makes sense to them. And I took a step back and look at the metrics. The metrics were asked of us were patient care. It's actually patient care. To MTM is patient care. Calling to check to make sure somebody's doing well on a prescription is patient care. Counseling is patient care. All those metrics are patient care. The problem is you're asking the pharmacist to do patient safety, patient care, customer service, clinical service, and all of that. This is where the issue was. It was never what we're asked to do. It was the amount of work that we had to do, the productivity that was asked of us with a low labor. If you are in the pharmacy and you hire a pharmacist just for patient care, and you have a pharmacist focusing on patient safety, which is the daily handling of the prescription, and then maybe also doing some other clinical service like vaccine, and you have tech, you have a great model right there. Because each person is focused on what they should be doing.
Yeah.
But you're asking one person to do all of those, that's where the disconnect is, right? And I think that's where they save money, because they don't have to hire another person to do all of that. They can use one person to do all of those. I mean, prescription makes them money. Patient care, if they meet a goal on the metrics, they get money for that because insurance pays them for them, right? If they do the vaccine, they get money for it. So you have one tree, which is the pharmacist, and all those branches, which is the pharmacist is giving out all those resources to someone else. And it's like, it sounds great because it's serving the community, but it's also sucking the energy out of them because nothing's coming back to them to refill, right? It's this analogy.
Yeah.
So the companies are getting all of those branches out because every single branch is at the end has money. And it's all coming out for one person.
When I'm running the pharmacy, one of my satisfying times is when I have enough business to keep a specialized employee busy at a predetermined time. Here's what I mean by that. So if I'm able to have enough deliveries where I can have a part-time delivery person and I know I can tell them so many hours per day and what days per week, that's great for me because then I don't have to train them to do different stuff. They're just delivery. And I know I'm going to fill their time well.
Yeah.
The opposite of that would be if I had to have someone standing around all day because they were only specialized in this and I wouldn't be able to keep them busy at a predetermined schedule. It sounds to me like a busy pharmacy, like you were mentioning, would have enough busyness to specialize some pharmacists or maybe say we're going to do things at this time of the day and time of the week and so on. Is that true? Or could the management say, well, Bled, we have to have many hats with the same pharmacist because we never know when they're going to be needed in that function and how much they're going to be needed?
So the difference between you and them is that you are one, I'm assuming you already have one pharmacy. So you don't cycle your income, it stays there. When you're talking about a big corporation like those big one, we're not betting on the revenue of one tiny pharmacy. There's a bunch of us. So the money is constantly flowing and can be allocated equally. So if for instance there's a small pharmacy that is not busy, we can, and as everyone that's not busy, we can hire one pharmacist per those two to take off patient care. So this is your task. You are in charge of store number whatever, and this store because they do and 300 or 200 scripts per day the pharmacist can handle. But you're in charge of doing the phone calls and the new therapy for those two stores. It works.
And you can shift pretty easily because you got so many damn stores.
Exactly. So you can do that. So you're in charge of two stores. You're in charge of, same thing when we talk about district manager. Why does district manager has to be in charge of 10 stores? That's a lot of stuff for them to carry. It's a lot of stuff. Being a district manager, I'm assuming it's really, really hard. So it's the idea that we are asked to provide more with little. I'm not really much of a business person, but I am wondering sure I remember from my economic class that for you to have production, you have to have labor. And I keep thinking, I said to this one, I say, which is, we come back and bite us in the bad part is like, imagine how much money you will have if you invest more money, right? But you think that by cutting, yeah, you might have your real profit of 1.3 billion a year because of this, but you could have made so much more if only you had hired that one extra person. right? Because then they can do their job well, right? And because they're doing their job so well, they can also have more patients coming in. Patients come to pharmacy because they're treated well, because people know them, people like them, and people take care of them. If you don't do that, they go somewhere else. But if we're constantly busy, we don't get to know their name, we don't know what they are, we don't take time to say hi, we're such in a hurry that, I don't want to come back here because I'm not seen. Where do I go? I want to go somewhere where people see me, right?
Yeah.
So that themselves, they are hurting their own business. If this is all about money, they're the one who are hurting their own business, not us.
It seems to me that their answer might be, if you don't like it, quit, and we'll hire the next person in. And we don't care about I know it's valuable, but it sounds to me like they're saying, we can't put a number on that. We don't think your smile and knowing Mrs. Smith and coming back in 2 years is going to be worth it.
Yeah.
And so leave and we'll hire someone else. And is that their answer?
I think that's what it is. I remember one of my greatest moments when I was working in retail is actually stopping and talking to my patient and giving them a hug, and when I had my baby, showing them picture of my kid and those update on life, and holding their hands when a loved one passed, or me being so upset because I've not seen someone and just find out they pass away, and all those sort of things, all those connections were the reason why many of them kept coming back. Right? And those are important because when you connect with people so deeply, you take care of them. You go the extra mile for them, right? You're actually more careful because you think of them as family. And so you will not want your family prescription to be overlooked and to be handled by somebody that doesn't care. Right. So you do your extra work. But I think you're correct. Those big chains know that they have at the disposition an influx of pharmacists coming in. So therefore, they can do what they are doing. So who we really need to be talking about right now is the incoming generation pharmacists. And people ask me throughout this campaign, do you feel like we need to not have any chain pharmacy anymore? I said no. The biggest mistake that we think is that we can survive without retail pharmacists. We can't. We need retail pharmacists and technicians. We need the model to stay. We just need to make it better. So the whole goal of business not working is not to eliminate them. If you want to leave, we can help you provide a source to leave. That's fine. But if you want to stay, we will fight to make it better. The incoming class has a big decision to make. If you want to be a retail pharmacist, I applaud you. I mean, to this point, if you ask me, would you go back? My answer is yes, because that's what I want it to be. If you want to be a retail pharmacist, I applaud you. I say you should go for it, but you should be aware of where you're getting yourself to. You should have an exit strategy. You should know your worth. So when you go to the interview, you're just not going to sign in a document. You tell them what you expect for them. I think that was a mistake we have made. We just got hired. We never told them what we expected from them. Right. They told us what they expected from us. They have a job description. We should have an employer description. How about that? Yeah. How about we have an employer job description? This is really what I expect from my employer. So the incoming generation pharmacists, they need to be learning from what is happening right now and say, you guys made a mistake when you stopped working. You didn't have a plan. You didn't have an expectation from your employer. Now we are learning and we're coming different. You change the game. You change your mindset on the new generation. I think now retail going to be thinking, okay, something needs to change.
I think the value of, and you mentioned it, the exit strategy. Life is full of negotiations, including getting hired. And part of the important thing of any negotiation is knowing your best alternative to a negotiated agreement, your BATNA. And so you always want to go into a job or a raise or a argument with someone or, whatever it is, you want to go in with an option, a well thought out option. And Might not be the best option, but it still is an option. And that allows you then to go in and say, here's what I want as an employee. And they might say, well, we want you to leave this meeting right now. It's like, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
Is there any advantage of a chain pharmacist pissing someone off so that they don't come back? And here's what I mean. My contention is that chain pharmacists, and don't get me wrong, I think pharmacists in general are very good people. And I think they have good hearts. I think they're crushed by some of the corporations. And because they're being crushed, if I'm a chain pharmacist getting crushed, I would say, I'm going to do something passive aggressively. And maybe that means something that the metrics don't pick up, where I can do something passively, like piss the customer off somehow, whether it's not answering a phone or not doing this or not smiling or whatever. Because if I can do that, then I get to go home earlier over the next month because they're not going to come back for the refill because they're pissed at us and they've went somewhere else. Is that true at all? Is there any sneaky way to get around the metrics so that they're actually trying to piss people off?
No, because the system is built to be punitive.
And there's no way around it.
Yeah. You end up paying for it one or the other, right?
Because they track it all. Like if you lose customers, right? I mean, they know if that person doesn't come back.
Pissing one customer off is not going to change mine. No, really. No, that's not going to affect anything whatsoever.
But if you lost like 10% of your customers because you were a pissy pharmacist, they'll know that.
It will show. It will show because your script rate will decrease. And then not only that, you have customer calling and complaining. And this is one thing that retail pharmacy have done against us. It's the ability of patient calling our employers and complaining. No, I'm not saying that you don't, we all have reviews with doctor's office, stuff like that, that's what I'm saying. But the complaints sometimes have nothing to do almost with like patient safety. It's a complaint that I didn't get my points, the complaint that my knuckle was refused, all of that. So they'll open this gate where patients have no respect for the pharmacist and technician. I mean, first thing that we did was to be able to call them by our first name. That's one thing. For me, it's like, I'm not saying I am too tight in my degree, but we earned it. Yeah. So let me give you the permission to call my first name.
Say that again.
We are called by our first name in retail.
By the customers.
By the customer.
The chains want to force that?
Yeah, your name is your first name.
I see.
On your badge, it is. We can debate on the fact that not everybody is a doctor, and I respect that. So we have to be really careful when we play that field. So I'm not saying that it has to be. What I mean is like the perception of the public is also what we're fighting against, because the chains have made that this way, right? They'll come, don't worry, they will have it ready for you in 5 minutes. Oh, when a customer is angry, I'm so sorry about that, here's a gift card. Yeah. Right? So we have had a habit of telling the patient that we don't matter, that we have someone over us telling us what we should be doing all the time, how we should be handling the prescription, right? Whether we should refuse that pain medicine, we should keep it 2 more days or something. They make those rules for us to the point where we don't really have a much stay when a customer is complaining, right? I had one time a manager come and say, hey, I need you to release this script. I said, why? Because the customer is angry. Great. Why is that my concern? The script is too early. Well, he's getting angry. Okay, the script is too early. Well, you have to release. No, I don't. And I told her, it's my name on that license. I'm the one with the prescription, and I'm not releasing it. So yes, that's a bad review for the store because I did that. But right there, my patient, that patient didn't need that
In your example there, the person that called you and said, hey, why didn't you do this and you should have and so on, is that a pharmacist or is that a non-pharmacist?
It's a non-pharmacist. It's
is that right?
Yeah, it's the store manager or the shift leader,
Really?
But yeah, because it's thing, we have the way the model is for pharmacists, our boss are not even pharmacists.
Mm-hmm.
The one who do our evaluation every year are not our peers. And that's what makes this whole thing very difficult, because there's just so much that needs to change to the whole process, to the whole model. I mean, I think you had Benjamin Jolie last time on your, there's there's the issue of PBM, there's the issue with, it needed to feel seen by the healthcare community, need to be valued by the patient, need to be valued by our employers, right? Yeah. And this thing that makes us the best human, not the best, but as pharmacists, this is our greatest strength, because we want to serve and love our community and be there, but it's also our weakest lane, because we will give our we will give our all until we are spent. We don't know how to not give, right? It's beautiful, it's strong, but it's also the very thing that keep us where we are right now.
Bled, you said right now it's complicated. However, if I were to ask you to describe one of these companies in one word, in one adjective, if I were to ask you, all right, describe what's going on. Let's say we can't even use pizza is not working. If I just asked you for one adjective to describe them, what would that one word be?
I would say great.
So it's not complicated. They're just a bunch of greedy bastards that are running all this. You just said it was complicated. It's not complicated. It's all greed.
I would say greed, but what makes the greed complicated is because the greed does not stop at the company. It stops also at every single shareholders in the company. And some of those shareholders happen to sit sometime in our biggest places in the government. And and some of those bigger change needs to go to the government. And so that's what makes it complicated.
You're exactly right. Because too, if I look at my 401k, I have no idea in hell if I've got those. I assume I probably have some of those chain pharmacies there. So, it's my greed too. I'm sure it's all of our greed, we're all could be a part of it.
Yeah.
All right. So listen here, Miss Smarty Pants. So now I'm telling you, all right, Bled, the heads of the three, let's say there's 3 pharmacy monopolies and 3 wholesaler monopolies and all these things. And they say, Bled, we saw your pizza is not working. However, if you would like to come and have a piece of pizza at our headquarters, we're going to invite you to sit in and talk to us leaders of these chain monopolies. And you walk in there and you grab a piece of pizza. If they invited you there and they had pizza, would you take a piece?
I would take a pizza because I love pizza. I already had this conversation.
All right. And that's what we talked about. We know that's just symbolism, but so they're giving you a chance then to talk. So you sit down. What do you tell them? Knowing that it's complicated and knowing that they're greedy, and you sit down, and what do you say to them?
I will first ask them, what do you care about the most? Because here's the thing, even though there's this thing about words, and words are really powerful, right? We all know that. So it's never been said out loud that is great from them. So, but we all know. But I will ask them, we all know, because this is really clear. It's defined. But I will ask them what matters the most for them. And if they tell me it's a patient, great, I have an answer for that. If they tell me it's the employee, great, I have it. Yes, thing, they would never tell me money. That's the thing. They would never tell me money.
They wouldn't.
Right? And the best thing you can say, if I have a person say, why don't we invite some news station to see this grand moment about a time of reconciliation between what Matt Stoller calls me the rebellion within CVS and Walgreens, right? Let's have a news station, right? And rather you ask them,
have a news station come in.
Yeah, come in and broadcast this huge event, this moment of reconciliation between who they consider the enemy. I don't know why. And then right there, you ask them the question, hey, I've been wanting to know about this. Tell me what matters the most to you when you think about pharmacy. They will never say money. They will never say anything. They will say, we want patient, of course. Patient matters to us. Here you go. It's the word in the front of everybody, right? Okay, if patient matters the most, let me tell you how you can make patient matter the most again. And then give them the plan right there.
All right. Now, you walk into this meeting and you say, tell us what matters most.
To you.
And to you. And they say, money. And then what do you do?
Okay, and I will say, who gives you your money? How do you get your money? The patients. Okay, so therefore the patient matters to you the most because they're all the person who will give you the money. So let's talk about them. Let's talk about how we can make them happy. Here's the thing. If patients win, there is a great chance that pharmacists will also win. Because if you have to do everything to make patient happy, you have to use the people who's going to make that happen. Who are those people? The pharmacist and the technician. So there is a relation in all of those. Somehow they have found a way, so they know about this equation. It's the equation. They know there are different pieces of the equation: patients, pharmacist, technician, intern, and them. This is the equation, right? What they have done is instead of keeping the pharmacist technician part of the equation comparable to the patient, they have removed the pieces. So they're actually less pharmacists supporting a bunch of patients and then making more money for them. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Yeah. So this is really where the system is actually shifting. Is the fact that for the amount of patients that we serve, what we do, there is not enough pharmacists and technicians and intern to do the work, and therefore they make more money because it's more profit for them. So if they're saying patient is a priority, you have to make sure you show them that for them to be the priority, you have to support the patient with ample amount of pharmacists and technicians.
I'm one of the CEOs there. All right. Hey, Bled, we just told you it's money. We just told you it's money. You keep bringing it back to patients. Mm-hmm. It sounds like the meeting's over, Bled. We just told you it's money. So you just get up and walk out then?
No, and I ask them, okay, I ask them, how do you make your money? Through what?
All right, so then they say, yes, it's through the patient. And then you say, oh, we have to treat the patients better, take the stress off the pharmacist and so on, leaving more.
No, that's not how it works. You can't tell them that. You can't give them the obvious answer because we all know that they don't really care about pharmacists.
That's what I was going to say, because if you would say to them, we need more pharmacists to spread the work out to get better care and things like that, and they'd be like, oh, we never thought about that, Bled.
No.
Well, they're not going to say that. We know it's money, and we know they're not going to listen to you sitting at a board meeting. So what makes you think that you can make any change at all?
Yeah. So here's the thing. So we're not going to talk about pharmacists. We're going to talk about what makes patient happy. What makes patient happy is to be seen, is to be cared. If patient is happy, they're all of that. What they're going to do? Oh my gosh, CVS is the best pharmacist ever, right? Because when I go there, I'm taken care of, right? So they're bringing patient himself are bringing as a patient. Not only that, you also have patient purposely choosing insurance which are in network with you. You're choosing by telling their friends, their family, where they go get the prescription. You're choosing by them coming to the pharmacy and at the same time buying your goods and all of that, right? So your patient are it's kind of like your activation point You have to activate them to get more money. So the more patient you get, the more happiness they have or whatever. They stay with you. Here's a really perfect example. Right now, we're about to have Walgreens and CVS are about to get TRICARE, right? TRICARE is coming to them.
Yeah.
If TRICARE holder are not happy with those two corporations, what's going to happen? The contract might not last all the way in. They might potentially lose the contract. So right now, it is in the good interest of both Walgreens and CVS to make sure TRICARE patients are literally well taken care of when it comes to those both pharmacy, because I just lost a contract with Walmart.
It's not news to them that they're greedy and that they're working people to death. I think they know that. So then I'm thinking,
why are we doing this?
Why? And I'm going to give you some reasons.
Mm-hmm.
If it's so bad, I maybe see some pharmacists revolting. I maybe see some strikes.
Mm-hmm.
It almost seems like, and maybe you're just being sneaky about this by just pretending that you're trying to bring this information to make it no. Well, you never said. I think I put words in your mouth. You never said you were trying to really get the message across to the upper echelon of these companies, did you?
Oh, they know. I'm 100% that they're aware. They know exactly. Yeah, no, it's not going to be anything new. I think first thing is like, is the awareness of the matter, to know that this is happening.
To whom? Not the leaders, because they know.
No.
Your message isn't to the corporation. Your message is to the customers? My
message is to everybody who has ear to listen, the corporate and everything.
But the corporate already knows.
They already know, but there is a way to send a message, even they know. It's called a good shame.
You're shaming them. That's what you're doing. You're not informing them. Let's be straight about this. You're not informing them, and you never said you were.
No.
You're trying to shame them in their greed.
Basically.
I can live with that. They're not listening any other way.
They're not listening our way, right? It's not like, hey, I want to have a meeting with my supervisor and discuss this issue. Okay, we heard you. We'll take it up to the corporate and give you an answer back. Those meetings have happened before. Mm-hmm. This is not like out of the blue, we're going to talk about it on social media. Social media is a very beautiful thing, but it's also a very dangerous thing, depending on which side of the coin that you find yourself in. Right. And I have, many times, even through this campaign, I have been bitten a little bit by social media, so I get that. Mm-hmm. But we have come into this era where people, they're fascinated about some type of justice.
Fascinated by justice.
They're fascinated by that. They want to be involved. They want to see change, right? And the goal is, even as we keep raising awareness, is to really bring shame, because it's really shameful. It's to really bring shame
to the top and being an underdog to the bottom.
Exactly, right? So because they know this is not new to them, no matter how many statements they put out there about the issues. Hey, you are aware about this issue internally. Now it's out there for the whole world to know. Let's see what you're gonna do, right?
And what do you hope they do?
What do I hope they do? Oh, man.
Now that we know that they're greedy and they don't really care, what do you hope, and I love shame, what do you hope to shame them into?
I hope that they will come one day in the store, have a seat, and watch what is happening. I want them to put themselves in the place of a patient and ask themselves, would I want my position to come out of here? Would I feel safe when that pharmacist hand me the bag? It's because I feel like, maybe even better, would I want my daughter or my son to work in here, right? Mm-hmm. If the answer to those questions is no, then I think the answer would come from them. There's nothing more beautiful than self-reflection.
Yeah.
I can tell you what to do, and I have stuff I want them to do, 100%, but it's it's a hopeless hope for self-perfection, right? I think that's really what we all want, and we all know that.
Yeah.
People say, oh my gosh, people say, Bled, they would never feel shame. Yes, we all know they never feel shame. They know. But you keep telling them, yeah, this pharmacy is not good. They keep hearing that from their friend. Man,
Yeah.
we hear about your company. How you doing? You keep hearing that this conversation is going to stop picking up eventually.
You shame them in their circles.
In the circle.
So when they're on the golf course, they're ashamed of that. And when they're on their yacht, they're ashamed that they're a part of this. You shame them in their
the circle.
circles.
You share them to feel guilty if they were parents or those people, if they were patient themselves, right?
If their kids find out about what they were doing, their kids would call them out on this.
Exactly. Hey, is that not your company, Mom? Is that not you? I know it's hard because I have to remember, right? This is someone's mom, this is someone's father and everything. I get that, and I respect that. Family is precious, but but when you purposely choose to ignore the well-being of someone's child,
Right.
or someone's loved one,
You don't have to apologize for speaking the truth.
and I would say, like my auntie used to tell me that she said, "There's shame is very powerful."
Yeah.
Shame, yeah, especially in the place where it's all about keeping the image. Let's bring out your skeleton for the whole world to see. I mean, this issue is and UK is talking about the issue. Canada is talking about the issue, so it's spreading. I had people calling me from. I was like, hey, it's spreading out. Pixar is not working. We hear about it in Australia. So you get into the point where you're like, oh yeah, this is that that company that does that. Oh no, we don't want to work for them.
Going back to marketing a little bit, it used to be that you'd want an issue to raise to the level of the media. Okay, so this is like maybe 10 years ago. You want it to raise to the media because the media can spread stuff. Now that social media has become so predominant and I haven't watched the evening news or something in 15 years, now that that's come up, is that a goal anymore to say, all right, we're going to get this going and then we hope the media picks up? Is the media still powerful in your mind to pick it up?
100%. I feel that, and it's been really tough to get us into the media. Honestly, where we have been right now is because we as a community have shared. And that's why I've been inviting people to really come together, because they're all avenues and they're all resources that some of us don't have that people might have, right? And it's been amazing. People are calling and connecting to me and that person, but I'm still shooting for like New York Times. I'm still shooting for a CNN, because this thing, and I tell people, you can remove me from the picture. It will be great to have a 60-minute on a crisis within chain pharmacies in America, because there's no other way to call it a crisis. It is literally a crisis. It's not just in Oklahoma, it's everywhere, right? You're talking about people not able to get the position for days. You're talking about like people and like underserved of community not be able to get the position for days, right? So I would love for a segment to be done for more than 2 seconds on this issue. I don't care if my name is mentioned. I don't care if the movement is mentioned, but we need to be talking about what is happening in chain pharmacy, right? We need to be discussing things.
And you've positioned that right. For them to pick it up, it's got to be, it might be like 10% of how pharmacists are crying or stressed out or whatever, but even that 10% has to focus on the patient of potential errors and that kind of stuff.
Yes. Well, and then we, when we started the campaign from the beginning, it was very patient safety focused and the well-being of like pharmacists and technician and intern. But when I did my first interview, I went back again and read this comment, and when I found out is that people were just calling us a bunch of whiny babies. They didn't really get that, once again, there are all those dominoes. Pharmacist, technician, and intern are domino number one. And so we had to go back and shift the language. And it was very hard for me to to put into when I had an interview, to put pharmaceutical technician in the bag and not talk about their mental and physical state at the front for, because we need to talk about that. But we had to make it so much about the patient so that people will really heed to the concern of what is happening. Even when I write to my senator here in Oklahoma, I only talk about what's happening to patient.
You and I know, and every pharmacist know, that we went into pharmacy because we maybe knew a pharmacist who liked helping people. And so we went into it, and our whole being was helping people in a very personable manner, not like maybe a surgeon when someone's conked out on the table kind of thing. We wanted to help people face to face. When we talk about the pressure and the stress, we already have assumed as pharmacists, we know it's like, yes, you get worse stress and you're not going to give the best patient care. So we talk about the stress and all the things going on, and how come we're not the pharmacists we wanted to be. We're talking about stress. It's like, oh, of course we know this affects the patient. We know that, but for the news, they don't know that. For them, you have to make that extra connection and say,
they don't
all
know.
right,
Yeah.
this is about the patient. Now, yeah, there's stress and all that, and as pharmacists, we can talk about that, but they don't make that connection as easily as we do, knowing that it's hurting the patient.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think as we move forward as a community, we have to take care, and that what I mean is, state board, pharmacy association, national, state, have to take care of pharmacists within our community. We have to discuss those issues of stress within ourselves. But when we go into a national or a news station, everything, the language has to be shifted to the patient.
Yep.
And
for sure.
And it's hard to say that, honestly, like, even as I have came out with a proposal for both Oklahoma, CVS, and Walgreens to discuss how they can improve their market. I did not even include the benefit to the pharmacists. I include what it will do to patient care, patient safety, and how much it will boost the market fill. It was very hard for me to not even include that as a pharmacist, because it felt like I was leaving them behind. But that's the only language that we understand. And so we have to be okay, and I almost said we have to forgive each other if that's not the language that we have in front of other people. But we know, right?
Yeah.
We know.
In the past, you would talk about crazy people. You'd say like, okay, it's black and white. But I've learned as I go along that mental health is like it's like blowing up one of those cheap rafts you buy. And at some point, put enough pressure on it, someone's going to break. They're going to break with depression, anxiety, whatever. And unfortunately, pharmacists in their heart, I think, love their patients so much. Unfortunately, they sometimes break before they even break the customer.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to tell a pharmacist, like, the patient's not getting as good a care. There might be mistakes and so on. And a lot of pharmacists would rather, this might be too dramatic, but a lot of them would rather die themselves than hurting a patient or killing a patient.
Oh, yeah.
And so I can see you're struggling that about not talking about the pharmacist, because they're like, Bled, you forgot about me. I might physically die before a patient gets hurt, but if I die, it's too late, and then, and then it's all for naught. So I can see the struggle you have of not talking about the pharmacist in that. But unfortunately, that's how the ball bounces with the media. You got to talk about the patient's need.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you really have to and it's almost an idea of forgetting self, to propel the message, and I think this is where we're all going to struggle, because as if when this gets a little bit bigger and bigger, and we'll have to start talking about it more, is having to shift that conversation. Because if you say, I'm tired, they're going to come, nurses are going to come, we're tired too, right? Everybody's tired, and it's true, right?
Yeah.
You know, you can change that. But to really shift the conversation to, this is really hurting my patient, right? It's really hurting my patient, right? This is the only language that we really pass, right? I think it's this idea of like, we internally know our worth. We know what we're going through. We don't suffer alone. We need to suffer within the community. And I think people need to reach out to their peers and talk about what is happening, right? That needs to be conversation, right? There needs to be seminars and things and things in place to help pharmacists overcome what is happening right now. That 100% needs to happen. You know, somebody reached out to me last time and said, you know, we'll be having this conversation, but there's one group that we forgot. And I said, who? And that pharmacist says, the pharmacists who are being sober for all those years, who are now struggling. We really need to think about what is happening to them right now.
The ones who have had the stress for all those years, now it's been too much.
Exactly. And so now my next goal is to find out how I can connect with people who are in charge of the pharmacist group in each state and see what we can do to reach out to those pharmacists and see what kind of help we can get. Because it's true that we have been talking about the stress and everything, but this is the people who have been working so hard to overcome the sobriety and to work in freedom, who have been pushed back now because of the stress.
Addiction.
Yeah, we need to talk about that. We need to find out where they are, like what's going on and how we can come together, you know, and help them.
So, Bled, you and I are talking here, and I'm an independent old fart, you know, and really I'm not ever going to get any retaliation. You know, no one's going to retaliate against me. And you are no longer in the system. Mm-hmm. Would we be able to have this same conversation if you were in the system? Would you still be able to have the same conversation, or are you more free now that you're out of the system?
Yeah. I mean, when the first post went viral in August, I was still employed with my company, but I think the decision to leave, even though in the midst of I have a new job, but it's not a super stable job. You know, I don't have like full-time benefit and all of that, but I felt that leaving the environment completely gave me a bigger voice. I felt that I was able to think clearly, you know, and not have to turn around and wash my back all the time, because that probably would have had to happen. It would have been possible for me to have this voice and still be employed without having some type of retribution, even though in the smart mind, they would have never done that. They would have found a way for me to leave the company eventually. But I think that's why I particularly invite people outside of retail to be partner with us, because those in retail, they want to speak out and they speak in their own way. But when you have companies who that are threatening the employees, if they use the hashtag, you know, that creates a lot of fear, right? And so those employees can really speak out so freely. And then you have people who, that's their income. They have a stable pay for a long time. You can just ask them to do that away, you know, even though it's for a good cause, but advocacy has its price. I am paying that price right now. I already say your name is be blacklisted forever in the history of chain pharmacy, unless somebody pardon you. You will probably never be hired. You will probably never be hired anymore.
You'll be like the Thanksgiving turkey that needs to get pardoned, you know?
Yeah, you will never be hired, you know. And so one of my boss was telling me last time, he said, you better keep your inpatient job, because that's it. That's for you, right? And it's scary, right? It's very scary. That's the price I pay. And sometimes I catch myself out of breath thinking about what have I done to my family, right?
Right.
And then something happens that, like, I get an answer from someone I've been waiting on that tells me, okay, I can still go. I'm okay. I can still go, right?
Yeah.
And so all to say that there is a reason why retail pharmacists are staying quiet, even though people say they should be the one who have the louder voice. And that's why I invite people who are not in retail to speak out more for them, and to stand out more for them, because again, it's the beauty of being like unity, within the profession.
I will say that with you putting yourself out there and becoming
the turkey, becoming the turkey,
with you putting your turkey neck out there, ready to hit the slaughterhouse.
Yeah, well,
by you becoming the turkey, you become more valuable to the industry. And so I have no doubt that your future, I mean, a lot of times people don't support that. I've done some things and people are like, well, you're going to get a lot of support from the neighbors. Like, no, you don't get that much support. It's all financial. I made some decisions in my business where they're like, you must have a lot of support for people that feel that way. It's like, nah, it's financial. They might give you a thought, but it's financial. With that said, looking at raw numbers, I'm not saying that the industry will support you because you've taken the stand, but I think your name is well known, that you've become valued to companies in a financial sense because of you sticking your name out there. I'm not just saying people are going to support you because you're a good person and you're brave and all the things I can throw at you, but I think your value has gone up nationwide, if not worldwide, and I think
well, my bank account is not reflecting your value.
No, I know, no, it hasn't. But potential, the big potential, oh, that business has a lot of potential, or that stock or whatever. I think my mother-in-law probably said that to my poor wife about me years ago. You know what I'm saying? I think that you have a potential for a look at an interview, even for a job that you might need down the road because of this too. So I think that you're in. Yeah. We're going to spare you this year.
That's great. I think I want to, one of the really beautiful thing about this for me is just like, people say, man, you might get so many opportunities now to speak at this time and whatever. And I just looking at, for me, it's just like, somebody asked me one time, what would be your greatest dream out of this? Like in all, if it's attainable. I said, well, the thing that I want would take 20 years to get, so we're not going to talk about that. But I felt that I have already, in the way, had one of my biggest moment happen. That when people reach out to me and say, because of you, I know my value. When that person asks me, what do you want? What will make you happy? If you're doing this for the profession, it's great. But if you're doing this for you, what will make you happy? And I was like, if every single pharmacist, technician, and intern know their value, if they'll wake up and say, I know that I am worth something more than what my employer is telling me right now. I know where I come from and I know what I can do. That is my biggest thing. So this is really like what I want more than anything, right? Yes, I want those change, but I think change starts within us. We keep awakening ourselves to the process. We're going to see bigger and bigger voice than me coming out of this. I think this needs to be the lowest voice of pharmacy ever that has ever happened. People say this is the lowest of anything, because out of this there will be much bigger voice. And personally, I cannot wait for those voices to come out.
Bled, people listening to this, maybe they're hopping out of their car or whatever, and they've got, let's say, 3 minutes to have us on their mind. And what would you have them do in 3 minutes? Whether it's signing up for a newsletter or whatever, what would you have someone do if they said, I'll give you 3 minutes?
I think first thing is to continue to raise awareness. I think whether it's to their own social media platform or through like contacts with news, reaching out to people who can propel the message. I think that's really like number one. Secondly, is to support your fellow pharmacy technician, right, in any way that you can. Make them that you understand and that you support them, and what is happening in the current situation right now. And I think the last one is really to partner with us in any way. We're always looking for people to join the cause. We're forming different teams, for like each state has their own team. I mean, not all of them. We have about 16 states right now that have a big size working team that we work closely with the Board of Pharmacy and State Association to bring the voice of retail pharmacists within that state. And so you can, if you email and you ask my email, if you email me, I'll send you the team list so you can find which team is in your state, or you can start one, right? So, but I'm also on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and we're pretty much everywhere, so you can just follow us.
I'll put a link in the notes that they'll be able to click on that and then reach out to you and say, Bled, I want to get involved somehow, right? That would be the way to go.
Yeah, well, through my email, they can email. We have an email we have an email separate just for the campaign, and so they can email me, yeah.
Well, Bled, golly, it was nice meeting you. I see your face all over the place. I'm like, oh, there's that Bled again. It reminds me, I got to talk to her.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a pleasure to be here, and you told me a lot of curveballs. I have to go back and think about it. So I was just like, wait, but I was prepared for this question. I guess I'm not prepared for this question, but it was fun. It was very educating, and then it was really challenging, and it was just like I feel like I also got to learn more about myself through talking with you, and so Mike, it was such a pleasure. Absolutely, to be with you.
Well, thank you, Bled. Boy, it was sure nice meeting you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for pardoning me for this year turkey. Make sure that I don't
be
get
sitting there
in
Thanksgiving dinner and say, oh, hope Bled's having a good day. I was responsible for that.
Yeah, you did. You sure did.
All right, Bled. Take care.
Okay.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Business of Pharmacy podcast with me, your host, Mike Kelzer. Please subscribe for all future episodes.